Groundbreaking, challenging, thought-provoking. Documentaries are a tribute to human curiosity, the meaning of art and journalism. They take us places we've never been and show us things we've never seen, whether we're ready to see them or not. And sometimes they can even change the world, because they're not just films, they're real.
Welcome to a celebration of that reality. To honor this rebellious, confrontational, and sometimes messy art form, we assembled some of the finest minds in the documentary world to help us count down through the must-see movies of the past 2 decades.
From the plains of Antarctica to the skyscrapers of New York, from fast food to family fallout, from Enron to Donkey Kong, these are the 50 documentaries to see before you die.
We're counting down some of the greatest documentaries of the last 2 decades as I travel across the country in search of some true documentary icons. And love them or hate them, they don't get more iconic than the guy responsible for the incendiary film we're about to kick things off with.
Michael Moore, one.
Fahrenheit 9/11 is a movie where the chief antagonist of the film is a war criminal.
In 2003, Michael Moore was already the most famous documentarian on the planet, known for his hectoring style and polemical approach. The story of his and our next film begins on Oscar night.
And the Oscar goes to Bowling for Columbine, Michael Moore and Michael Donovan.
Well, it was 4 days into the Iraq War when I won the Oscar for Bowling for Columbine, and I gave that speech.
I've invited my fellow documentary nominees on the stage with us because we like nonfiction. And we live in fictitious times. We live in a time where we have fictitious election results that elects a fictitious president. We live in a time where we have a man sending us to war for fictitious reasons. We are against this war, Mr. Bush. Shame on you, Mr. Bush. Shame on you.
After I got booed off the stage at the Oscars, instead of just kind of going away and saying, you know, well, we sure learned our lesson here, it just fired me up even more. I've got to really tell the truth here about what Bush is up to, how he's used 9/11. And I just said to the crew, look, this will probably be the last film we get to make. So let's just make the film we want to make. Let's not give a damn about anything, our career or whatever. Let's throw everything we've got at it. Balls to the wall.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
War is always good for certain companies.
There's no other single area of the world today with the opportunity for business similar to the opportunity that's available today in Iraq.
Fahrenheit 9/11 is a critical investigation into the presidency of George W. Bush.
Michael Moore stepped off a cliff in making that film. A lot of people in this country hate him because he did that, but what George Bush and his cronies were doing was so wrong. It was about time that somebody take on those monsters.
The world has changed after September the 11th. It's changed because we're no longer safe.
He starts a war based on a lie and gets away with it.
Saddam Hussein aids and protects terrorists, including members of Al-Qaeda.
The people that I was talking to were like, I cannot believe that everybody's buying this load of crap and continues to try to link Saddam Hussein to the terrorist attacks, even after it's been debunked.
Moore ultimately accuses Bush of exploiting 9/11, using it to justify the bloody wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Conflicts that Moore concludes were actually motivated by money and oil.
It's the second largest reserve of oil in the world. Once that oil starts flowing and money coming, it's going to be lots of money.
They died in a just cause.
Michael Moore definitely had a major and sweeping and ambitious agenda. He wanted to change the direction of the country, and he has enough of an ego and enough ambition that he felt he could do that kind of thing.
The release of Fahrenheit 9/11 was carefully timed, hitting theaters in June of 2004, just 5 months before Election Day, when George W. Bush would attempt to win a second term against a stiff challenge from John Kerry.
There's never been something that has stirred American politics quite like this film.
The movie did so well. It's almost as if the electorate mobilized around the movie and not around the election.
George W. Bush won that election by one state, the state of Ohio, something like 100,000 votes. That's all it was in a nation of 300 million people. If Fahrenheit helped to provide a spark for that or had a little piece to do with that, well, all the better.
Not surprisingly, Moore's film divided audiences. Some people dismissed it as little more than propaganda.
People definitely picked Fahrenheit 9/11 apart. In terms of its accuracy, he likes to not necessarily fudge details, but he will juxtapose ideas, items, facts.
Michael Moore is a provocateur. Yes, he doesn't necessarily give people the right reply. Maybe he edits people together in a way that's kind of manipulative, but it's funny and it makes you pay attention to a very serious issue.
Whereas a good documentary takes everything and then comes in and makes it complicated, Michael Moore does the opposite. He wants everything to be cut and dry. I'm right, they're wrong, that's it.
Every night of the week on the major networks, they get a half hour to do their news. I come along once every 2 or 3 years if I'm lucky, and I ask you for 90 to 120 minutes to listen to an alternate version of what you're being told every friggin' night on the news. I am one of a few lone voices out here trying to say there might just be a different way of looking at this. And that is way too much energy for 1 in the morning.
It's a love affair between a poet of the air and two towers.
Man on Wire is the story of Philippe Petit and his audacious quest in 1974 to walk between the two towers of the World Trade Center on a tightrope.
Suddenly, I freeze because I have opened a newspaper at a page and I see something magnificent, something that inspires me. I see two towers. And the article says one day those towers will be built. They're not even there yet. And when they are, they will become the highest in the world.
Director James Marsh opted to complement the small amount of footage at his disposal with playful reconstructions, illustrating the meticulous planning that went into Philippe's extraordinary feat.
There's always been a discussion about the nature of reconstructions in documentaries and whether they are appropriate to a documentary and to the truth. And it feels to me it's a kind of strange argument that somehow style or the absence of style is going to give you the truth.
The filmmaker was able to make you feel as if it was happening right now. And you know the outcome. You know the guy is still alive. You know he didn't fall off.
I must confess that my palms are wet. I look at this film and I say, I hope this guy is going to make it. And now the guard comes. Has he seen us? Has he heard us? Has he seen the tarp move? But the guard comes and leans against the structure, and he seems to be a foot away.
Man on Wire is genius because it is a documentary with all of the suspense of a heist movie.
And I hear the cracking of his walkie-talkie, and I hear he takes a cigarette. And the sound grows up now of the lighter and of this first puff, the burning of the extremity of the cigarette. And he seems to be almost leaning on my ear. So we are, frozen, we don't breathe.
The thing that's so cool with Man on Wire is that you never actually see him moving between the towers. It's all done with photographs. It's so breathtaking and so brilliantly done and so intimate that you walk away feeling like I watched Philippe Petit walk from one tower to the other.
Initially, it was a concern that, the fact was that we have a film built around an event and we haven't got any film of that event. The only way of dealing with it was just to embrace what we had, which was stills. And the stills are extraordinary. They show you the scale of the event and the beauty of it.
Although 9/11 is never mentioned in the film, Man on Wire is made all the more poignant by the knowledge of what would happen to the World Trade Center towers 27 years after Philippe's majestic crossing.
You remember that there was a time that these towers represented something different, something about our ambition, about possibility. The film takes you back to that place.
It felt that the building's memory was owned by the wrong people. This is for dreamers, this film. This is for the best part of us, not for the worst part of us.
When Man on Wire won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature in 2009, Philip Petit, ever the showman, celebrated by balancing the Oscar on his chin.
Only 7 films to go before I come face to face with the camera-wielding eccentric from one of the biggest docs of last year. But now, though, another doc to see before you die. This one, a sobering and slightly flammable look at our nation's unquenchable demand for energy and the unforeseen damage that demand is causing.
Gasland, I feel, is a film that broke news. I feel like it made news.
Gasland chronicles one man's journey across America to uncover the devastating effects of the natural gas drilling boom.
I don't think anyone knew what it was doing to the environment. That movie just was, I mean, really, really effective in telling that story.
Gasland is a really great example of marrying the personal documentary with the political documentary.
One day I got a letter in the mail. It was from a natural gas company. The letter told me that my land was on top of a formation called the Marcellus Shale, which stretched across Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, and West Virginia, and that the Marcellus Shale was the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. I could lease my land to this company, and I would receive a signing bonus of $4,750 an acre.
Gasland was theater director Josh Fox's first documentary.
Josh Fox, take one.
Film was the best vehicle for it. It wasn't going to be a play. It wasn't going to be something that I would write. I wanted to have people in their own voices. And the voices that I encountered were incredibly striking. So I felt like I wanted to have that be a conversation between people who were in the drilling areas and people who were in areas where it was being proposed, like myself.
Fox embarked on an epic road trip across the United States to meet the people whose properties had been turned into gasland.
What would happen if I took some chemicals like I got and took them to like the big bossy in Canada and dumped them in as well? Yeah. They'd have me in the pen so fast my head would spin. For sure. But look, if they can come out here and do whatever they want to. And they don't even have to report it and tell us what they're putting in there.
I think Josh Fox did take a story that perhaps in another filmmaker's hands could have been wonky or could have been cold or impersonal, and he made us care, and he was the kind of the string that pulled us through the big story.
Gasland introduced a new word to the American public.
The method of gas drilling they use is called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. It blasts a mix of water and chemicals 8,000 feet into the ground. The fracking itself is like a mini earthquake. The intense pressure breaks apart the rock and frees up the gas.
The film also showed the dangerous side effects of fracking, in particular, the apparent contamination of the water supply with flammable gases.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
That was the nail that just drove that story home so effectively.
The proof is in the pudding there. If you can see people lighting their water on fire, something is wrong.
Gasland was nominated for an Oscar in 2010, which made some people happy.
The minute I saw it, I knew this was a special film.
And others, not so much.
You know, the gas industry, one of the things that they did was they wrote a letter to the Academy Awards trying to disqualify, asking them to rescind the nomination. I couldn't believe it.
While I was making the film, at best, I was thinking the film could be projected in a bar in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, or somewhere.
When Jonathan Coët started filming himself as a child, he never imagined it would turn into the documentary of his life. Combining a 26-year mixture of snapshots, Super 8, answer machine messages, video diaries, and early short films, Tar Nation paints a moving and sometimes haunting portrait of growing up with a schizophrenic mother.
I think Tarnation is one of the first films that really sort of captures the notion that there are people who have been documenting their entire lives on video.
I think the filmmaker had been through so much in his life, you know, but he told the story in such a beautiful, complex and layered way.
It's a filmic equivalent of someone sort of rooting through an old box of mementos. So I think on that level, it certainly brought a very fresh approach to documentary making.
Tarnation follows the filmmaker's complicated relationship with his mother from infancy into adulthood, exploring along the way a traumatic family legacy of rape, abandonment, abuse, and drug addiction.
You can look at Tarnation in any number of ways, but I think certainly it works best for me as a love letter to his mother.
What was your first memory of the first mental hospital that you went into? Tell me. No, tell me, because it's not your fault, Renee.
No, it's not.
It's not your fault.
No, it's not.
You have nothing to run away from.
I'm sick, okay?
You're not sick.
Oh, yes, I am now.
It's a piece that says, I am who I am, but I'm who I am partly because of the person who came before me.
I love my mother so much. As up as it is, I can't escape her. I wanted it to feel like a dream in the sense that when you're going to sleep at night and you're sort of in that kind of limbo, hypnagogic place where you're sort of half asleep and half awake, and you have these sort of like fever dreams.
Tarnation was a critical darling and art house hit, an impressive achievement for a film constructed on an initial budget of just $218.
This is the iMovie movie, you know. This is the movie that sort of opened what is, I'm sure, going to be the floodgates of people who have cameras and people who have Final Cut Pro and that came free with their laptop, you know, telling their stories.
Filmmaking is already as accessible as writing a story and painting a picture. I think it is going to be a sort of common thing for people to make films.
After the break, find out the meaning of the word murder ball. Hi, I'm Morgan Spurlock, and you're watching 50 Documentaries to See Before You Die on Current TV. For more information about the movies on our list, log on to current.com/docs. I'm Morgan Spurlock, and you're watching Current TV's 50 Documentaries to See Before You Die. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good. Can I get a coffee?
Sure.
Thanks. Oh, hi, I'm Morgan Spurlock, and you're watching 50 Documentaries to See Before You Die. The next film on our list is about a sport that's part rugby scrum, part hockey brawl. It's played by a group of men where no challenge is too daunting, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Inspirational? Sure. Awesome? Absolutely. Murder ball is wheelchair rugby. It's a brutal full-contact sport in which those who have been paralyzed go head-to-head in specially modified chairs.
I was like, people in wheelchairs play a sport called murder ball. That's new.
You see wheelchair flips, you see incredible speed, you see these guys wiping out.
The game is brutal. The game is frightening. I think the only comfort I took in that is that they said, what am I going to do, break my neck?
You have to dribble the ball or pass to a teammate once every 10 seconds. But other than that, it's basically kill the man with the ball.
Murder Ball follows the build-up to the 2004 Paralympics. It is a story of intense rivalry between the world's two top teams, and in particular, the antagonism shared by their talismans, Canada's coach Joe Soros and America's new star, Mark Zupan.
Dana Adam Shapiro, take 3.
As soon as you find out that two people don't like each other, you know, that bell dings. It's like conflict. And when you have two people who don't like each other, who are also really photogenic, and who are also really charismatic, and who are on opposing teams, so when you look up and go, thanks.
I always get asked, so did you play this dislike up? I'm like, no, I honestly, I don't like the man.
2, 3, Canada!
Yeah!
If Joe was on the side of the road on fire, I wouldn't piss on him to put it out.
Yeah! 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 Yeah, baby! Yeah! Yeah, anytime, big boy.
The openness of Zupan and his co-stars and their willingness to share every aspect of their lives, on the court, and perhaps more poignantly off it, allowed the directors of Murderball to make a movie not just about sport, but also about the triumph of the human spirit and the human libido.
You break your neck, and look, these things may be impaired, but, you know, that still works.
My first full-on sex after being in a wheelchair was a very great moment in my life, just knowing that I could just still, not just the physical act, but that, you know, you could still go out one night, meet a girl, and get lucky.
They were able to bring up non-PC ways to ask questions about the white elephant in the room, if that is sex, or if that is how you go to the bathroom, or if it's something that somebody looks at someone in a chair, somebody with a disability, and is curious about. And they were able to do it in a good way, a funny way, but it addressed a lot of the things that people want to know just won't ask.
We always wanted to make a great film, but always wanted to challenge stereotypes about what it's like to be in a wheelchair, and also, you know, maybe show some guys who just got hurt that life's not over.
It showed that people in wheelchairs can still be assholes. Could I say that on current TV?
Our next film is a slightly less heartwarming tale of desire and ambition.
Enron was the poster child for the success of unfettered, unregulated free market capitalism.
Enron, the smartest guys in the room, looks into one of America's biggest ever corporate scandals.
It had taken Enron 16 years to go from about 10 billion of assets to 65 billion of assets, and took them 24 days to go bankrupt.
It was a story of ambition and greed and personal corruption.
Basically the American dream gone haywire.
People at Enron said, if you're not smart enough to understand how we make money, we're not going to explain it to you.
I think what was amazing about Enron Smartest Guys in the Room is that it takes such a complicated subject that had been all over the news and everybody had heard about it, but nobody quite understood how could this have happened.
It takes the mere mortal through this infinitely confusing labyrinth of mathematics, deregulation, and flat-out lying.
There were offshore accounts, phony books, and a trail that led from the company's treasurer, Tom Mastroeni, to a mysterious Lebanese speculator no one could find, M. Yass.
What name did you suspect that was?
My ass, you know, and M. Smart. I said, that's Maxwell Smart. I mean, these guys are playing games.
During filming, director Alex Gibney uncovered damning recordings taken during the California energy crisis that Enron had helped create.
We got the audio tapes of the Enron traders who really had imbued this kind of law of the jungle ethic. And you can hear them laughing as they're sending prices through the roof, causing blackouts throughout the state, causing dialysis machines to go down, and they're just howling with glee.
Oh, that's money you guys stole from those poor grandmothers in California? Yeah, Grandma Millie, man. But she's the one who couldn't figure out how to vote on the butterfly ballot. Now she wants her money back for all the power you charged right up her ass.
It shows you how vulnerable Americans are to these bastards.
In 2006, Enron nabbed an Oscar nomination for Best Documentary Feature.
I must say, when I walked the red carpet for Enron, I was pretty full of myself. I thought, well, I've arrived now. And some photographer beckoned me over. I said, okay, it's time for my close-up. And I got close to him, and he said, will you please get the hell out of the way? Jennifer Aniston is coming.
Join me after the break for two very different tales of damnation and redemption. I'm Morgan Spurlock, and you're watching Current TV's 50 Documentaries to See Before You Die. In 1993, 3 young boys were brutally murdered in the heart of the American Bible Belt. The accused? 3 young boys, themselves teenagers. They would soon become known as the West Memphis 3, and their case would become a cause celeb. And they are the subject of documentary number 24 on our list. Paradise Lost follows the trial of the so-called West Memphis Three, charged in 1993 with the homicide of 3 8-year-old boys. Despite mass vilification of the accused, the case turned out to be less clear-cut than anticipated.
Brusinowski, take one.
When we went down there, we were pretty much convinced that the 3 teenagers had killed these 3 8-year-old boys.
All the press reports talked about these 3 blood-drinking, Satan-worshiping teen killers who had sacrificed these 3 children.
It appears satanic worship may have played a role in the murders. Since the very beginning of the investigation, people all around West Memphis have come forward with stories of satanic cults.
We arrived on the scene in June, shortly after the arrests, and we spend the summer getting to know the families and getting to know the case and the prosecution, and all these nagging doubts started popping up. When we finally met these guys, 5 months into filming, the moment you talk to them, it's clear they didn't do it.
I can see where they might think I was in a cult because I wear Metallica t-shirts and stuff like that, but I'm not in nothing like that. I couldn't kill an animal or a person.
It's about small-town beliefs clashing with the justice system. You've got a group of kids, they dress in black, and they're targeted because they're an easy target. And the cops need to hang this case on someone before people get angry.
I have personally observed people wearing black fingernails, having their hair painted black. Sometimes they will tattoo themselves.
The big question that was raised is, did we pick these kids because of what they look like or what they listen to?
It's a question that the directors left to the viewers to decide.
When you're watching the film, you're looking for the truth. You're searching. You become the detective. You become the investigator.
On May the 5th, did you kill Chris Byers?
No, I did not.
Have you ever participated in any type of human sacrifice?
No, I have not.
We ultimately decided while we were making the film is the best way to serve the audience is to let them be the jury.
The filmmakers, Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky, unexpectedly became part of the story when the father of one of the victims, Michael Byers, gave them a knife as a Christmas gift. In a bizarre and sinister twist, the pair discovered there was blood on the blade.
We sat with HBO and we all decided that, we have to turn the knife over, even if it meant destroying the movie.
Who did you receive the knife from?
I received it from Joe and the people with HBO Productions.
The film definitely portrays Byers as somebody who might be capable of the crime.
I hope your master, the devil, does take you soon. I want you to meet him real soon. And the day you die, I'm going to praise God.
We are not saying that Byers is the killer. We are saying that a better case could have been made against Byers than against Damien Eccles.
The 3 teens were convicted, and one of them was sentenced to death. The verdict provoked a wave of protest. Metallica, who had themselves been demonized during the trial, lent their support by allowing their music to be used in the film.
This movie kind of became a bit of a sensation in the hard rock world. All these bands were kind of, free the West Memphis Three, free, it was like this big kind of campaign.
I saw it and became so angry. I said, okay, I'm gonna do like a benefit record, like a couple of songs. Then it turned into an album. Then it turned into an album of Black Flag songs with an all-star cast of vocalists. $70,000 to make that record. A lot of lost sleep. And all of this was because of a documentary.
Today, 18 years after their convictions, the West Memphis Three are awaiting hearings to determine whether freshly uncovered forensic evidence is cause enough to grant them new trials. Berlinger and Sinofsky continue to document their stories.
So we really feel that there's a really good chance that they'll be able to get a new trial. And wouldn't that be amazing if, a film that you made, actually brought about that kind of effect? It's pretty cool.
Hello, I'm Ellie the Alligator.
And I'm Susie Muppet.
Our next documentary is the ultimate behind-the-headlines look at one of America's most misunderstood personalities. Tammy Faye Bakker was the devoted wife of televangelist Jim Bakker, whose empire came crashing down when he was caught up in a sex and money scandal that reduced the couple to little more than a national punchline.
The Eyes of Tammy Faye is really the story of a comeback. It's the story of someone who became a laughingstock of America. And 12 years after the scandal that ruined her and made her a joke, we found her in Palm Springs and hung out with her for a while.
Here's a movie about a woman you didn't think you wanted to see a movie about. And once you see it, you find out this is not the person I thought she was at all.
The more time the director spent with Tammy, the more they grew convinced that she and her husband had been misjudged by the American public.
It was clear that they were the victims of a witch hunt, and that the real truth about who they were and what their intentions were had actually never been told.
Found a new joy. Come on, yeah. We believed that Christianity should be fun. We believed it should be joyful. And I think we were one of the first people to put fun and laughter in Christianity.
It's not a drag to be saved. It's not a boring thing.
Randy and Fenton, when they made the film, really struck a balance. And the balance was that they didn't want to be over heavy with the film.
The subject informed the style. You know, Tammy, she says, puppets, everybody loves puppets. We had to have puppets throughout the film.
If at first you don't succeed.
And why stop at puppets? Recognizing her embrace of the gay community despite her evangelical beliefs, the filmmakers added another dash of camp in the form of narrator RuPaul.
Tammy was rejected by Christian broadcasting, so she turned to secular television, courting even more controversy by hosting a talk show with an openly gay co-host.
We're not what you'd expect. We're a crazy, kooky duet. We're a recipe you couldn't bake up.
3 times the laugh
and 10 times the makeup.
Sometimes people think that humor and documentaries don't go together, and that the documentary form should be dour. Humor can be incredibly effective in making really serious points.
The one serious point we wanted to make is don't judge others, and that's what that film was about.
Sadly, Tammy Faye lost her 11-year battle with cancer in 2007, but thanks to the documentary and countless drag reviews the world over, her legacy lives on. Over the past hour, we've seen documentaries that refuse to shy away from the truth, no matter how unpleasant it may be. And the next film on our list shows the repercussions that fearlessness can have. The Dixie Chicks were one of the biggest bands in America, loved by audiences from coast to coast, until one evening in 2003.
Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want war. We're ashamed of the President of the United States.
At number 22, Shut Up and Sing follows the dramatic fallout from these off-the-cuff remarks. The statement was caught on camera by young director Seth Gordon and became the launch pad for Barbara Koppel's unplanned film.
We were shooting behind-the-scenes footage for the Dixie Chicks for like their website, and it was maybe going to be on a DVD release of their album. And we just happened to be there when Natalie said what she said about the president.
Koppel and her team documented the public outcry against the Dixie Chicks and its effect on their career as the conservative country music industry turned its back upon the band.
And how they can say I'm ashamed that the president's from Texas? Come on, man. It's crazy.
They went from the biggest country act really in the world to being shunned and vilified because of one offhand comment.
I think they are the ditzy twits. These are the dumbest bimbos, with due respect, I have seen.
These are callow, foolish women who deserve to be slapped around.
Absolutely.
This documentary, for the first time, takes you inside the media firestorm and shows you what it's like looking from the inside out.
What if you just go something like, you know, I apologize, we were at a smoky bar gig and I got a little carried away. You know, play it down instead of this is what we really.
It is more serious.
It's more serious. But it was meant. It was amidst kind of a joke. But it was true.
I do a lot of crisis PR, and I work with a lot of people who've had very challenging situations in their life. The one thing we want to do, and I learned from my grandfather, the butcher, is you put the sausage on the counter in the window. You don't let anybody watch the sausage getting made, okay? They let people watch the sausage being made, which I thought was very courageous.
Do we have to be on everything that they'll let us be on? I just don't care.
Here's what everyone is wrestling with. You are the biggest selling group in North America in the last 8 years. No one has sold combined more records than you have.
I don't give a shit what Sony wants. We know what Sony wants. Money, yeah. We've always been a cash cow. They're worried we're not going to be that.
Dixie Chicks seem to feel totally comfortable breaking down a bit on camera, involving their families, talking about the tensions among them. You're very much a witness. A camera's presence anywhere changes things. So to be able to overcome that change and allow people to be themselves on camera is something that Barbara Koppel is particularly good at.
Koppel's film documents the rising tensions within the band in the wake of hate mail, death threats, and ultimately rejection by those who were once fans.
It's easy for people to feel a sense of anonymity behind their computer and write ugly things and hateful things. And, you know, a lot of that stuff you don't take seriously. But when somebody hates you so much for what you say that they want to kill you.
The documentary also explores their defiance and the importance of free speech.
If somebody asked me if Shut Up and Sing was a documentary about freedom of speech, I would say that sounds about right. And it's a documentary about how we might have freedom of speech in this country, but there was a time that may or may not still exist now where it's not necessarily true.
The Dixie Chicks suck. They don't know what they're talking about and should shut the f up.
Coming up, we reveal the film that tops this episode, starring one of street art's most colorful characters. Well, I finally made it to LA, home of the star of our last film tonight, Mr. Brainwash. He was made infamous thanks to the documentary directed by British street artist Banksy. It is, of course, 2010's runaway hit, Exit Through the Gift Shop. Terry Guetta had spent years obsessively documenting the clandestine world of street art.
I like to capture those people because I thought it was nice what they were doing. You know, they really loved it.
He even became close to the notoriously secretive street artist known as Banksy.
Well, I'd never let anybody film anything before, but I said he could film me, but only my hands, from behind, and on condition I could check the tapes afterwards.
But when Terry showed his new friend the fruits of his labors, Banksy was less than impressed.
Terry, this crazy character, had made this film claiming that it was going to be, you know, a big film about street art, and it really wasn't that.
It just seemed to go on and on. It was an hour and a half of unwatchable nightmare trailers, essentially like somebody with a short attention span with a remote control flicking through a cable box of 900 channels.
Banksy persuaded Terry to hand over his footage and suggested he concentrate on making his own art. His team then began to work through the endless hours of tapes, hoping to find the definitive documentary that Terry had promised.
There was a big element of detective work in the first third of the editing schedule, where we literally made notes of everything and pieced the story together.
Banksy and his team found the man behind the camera to be the real focus of the story, not least as his new career in Los Angeles took off, creating the phenomenon known as Mr. Brainwash.
It's because everything that I do somewhere brainwash your face.
When Banksy had suggested to Terry that he make some art, he could never have imagined just how far things would go.
The story had such momentum by that point. Terry had genuinely become something bigger than he himself intended to become. And the world now believed that Terry was an artist.
Most artists spend years perfecting their craft, finding their style, and Terry seemed to miss out on all those bits. I mean, There's no one quite like Terry, really, even if his art does look quite a lot like everyone else's.
Come on, guys, let's make the show go on.
Exit Through the Gift Shop slowly becomes a comical critique of the commercial art world, as it follows Terry's heavily influenced approach to production.
Serious street artists, a lot of them are really angry with Terry. I think it's a cheek. How dare this kind of clown become one of the most notorious street artists in the world.
This documentary made the audience think about art. What do we value? Do we value talent or do we value hype?
Despite the film's popularity, many were suspicious of its authenticity.
I mean, it is an unbelievable story. We showed it to people in the cutting room when we were getting nearing completion, and whoever we would have, they would turn around and go, "Come on, really?" And we'd say, "Yep, it's Terry."
There's no question that Terry is an extraordinary figure and a virtually incredible figure. He does sound like someone's invented him and made him wear a funny moustache and a hat. But the film really has power because it's true.
If it's real, it's pretty good. If it's fake, it's great.
Yeah, I'm here in Los Angeles right now to meet Terry, aka Mr. Brainwash, just to find out how real he really is. And he wouldn't tell me where we were going or what we were doing. I think this is it. All he would basically say is that it's going to be spectacular. Terry, Morgan.
Oh, how are you,
How
man?
are you, man?
Sorry,
That's all good. Yeah, so what's going on?
I just brought some posters and some people came, so I'm like, just to give them.
Is this for a show? Is this what's going on?
But I just took this space.
Okay.
It's been abandoned for the last 2 years, and now I take it, I just clean it up. This is for a show.
This is just for a show?
Yeah.
So how has your life changed, since the movie came out?
I mean, it's like I cannot go outside without being, "Hey, Mr. Brainwash!" Oh, hey.
Yeah, you get recognized everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a movie star.
Have you had to deal with people, like, after seeing the film who've come up and said that they don't think the film's real, that they don't think you're real?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I said, touch.
You're like, look, I'm real.
Is
I'm
it
real.
Is it real? What I like about this film is people go see it, and they go eat, and they talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's real? Is it true? Is it not true? That's the mystery of this whole film.
So are you Banksy's greatest artistic creation?
I don't know.
Have you spoken to Banksy since the film?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Is he supportive of you as an artist?
I guess so. I mean, we had this contact, and something came out of it. It's like taking a green and a blue scientist, and you put it together, and you go shh. If you just put the blue, it's not gonna do nothing.
Okay, I want to walk outside. I want to see what you're doing on the front of the building. It's
and
great.
what it is, it's like brainwashing again. It's
Yeah.
like I still have red that I'm gonna splash here.
Yeah.
We can do it now if you want. Oh, shit, come on. It's all about exaggeration.
Yeah.
It's like I don't wear gloves.
How do you deal with people say, well, all you're doing is just like using everybody else's art to make art? Like what you do isn't art.
When you make something exist, you make it exist. That's it. I'm a pop artist. Pop it's something that it's...
For everybody. See that guy's car right there? Now it's an art car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How do you want people to remember Mr. Brainwash?
I want people to remember that it's possible. To stop thinking that they can't. They really can.
Yeah.
You can make it happen. Life is beautiful. That's what it is.
It's great. I agree.
Nice to meet
Cheers,
you,
man. Nice to meet you, brother. Whatever the critics thought, it was clear that someone or something called Mr. Brainwash really did exist.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
Tonight we've seen everything from pollution and corruption to political controversy. Some amazing feats of bravery and questionable art. Join me next time for 10 more must-see documentaries. There'll be hijackings, witch hunts, scenes of a sexual nature, and men in drag. How do you beat that? Now stop filming me. For more information on 50 Docs to See Before You Die, log on to current.com/docs.